She was 71 years old, lying in a crosswalk, bleeding. He was in a Mercedes, driving home to call his senator father. What happened next will make you believe again. August 16th, 2024, 11:23 at night, Providence, Rhode Island. Dorothy Chen is walking home from church. She's done this every Saturday for 15 years. Same route, same crosswalk, same quiet streets she's known her whole life. She's at the intersection. The light's red for traffic. She has the walk signal. She's in the middle of the crosswalk when headlights come screaming through that red light. Black Mercedes. 52 miles per hour in a 25 zone. Driver's drunk. Blood alcohol nearly double the legal limit. The impact throws her onto the hood. Her body slams the windshield. Then, she's dragged 15 feet across pavement before rolling off into the gutter. The Mercedes doesn't stop. Dorothy's lying there with a shattered pelvis, broken hip, destroyed knee, traumatic brain injury, alone in that crosswalk, fading. If it wasn't for Maria Santos driving home from her restaurant shift, Dorothy dies right there. Maria calls 911, stays with her, keeps her conscious until the ambulance screams up 7 minutes later. Meanwhile, the driver, Brandon Whitfield, 22 years old, pulls into his family's estate in Newport, parks in the garage, walks inside, and 22 minutes after he hit her, he makes a phone call. Not to 911, to his father, Senator Richard Whitfield, one of the most powerful politicians in New England. Let that sink in. 22 minutes. He had 22 minutes to do the right thing, to turn around, to call for help, to check if she was alive. Instead, he called Daddy. What happens in the next 6 hours should terrify every single one of us. Senator Whitfield gets that midnight call from his son. And at 12:30 a.m., while Dorothy's in surgery getting her pelvis reconstructed, the senator calls the Providence police chief. Personal phone call. Middle of the night. Not through normal channels. Police already have a witness statement. They have a vehicle description. They have the registered owner's address. They know exactly where Brandon Whitfield lives. They don't arrest him, not at midnight. Not at 1 a.m., not at 2, not at 3. They wait until 5:47 in the morning to discover his car. They wait until 6:15 to arrest him. Why? Because alcohol metabolizes at a predictable rate. And by waiting 6 hours, Brandon's blood alcohol drops from 0.1 point, nearly double the legal limit, to 0.06, under the legal limit. Evidence literally evaporating from his system while they stall. This isn't incompetence. This is what power does when it protects its own. Let me tell you who Dorothy Chen is. 45 years as a nurse at Rhode Island Hospital, trauma unit. She's held dying patients' hands. She's told families their loved ones didn't make it. She's seen what drunk drivers do, over and over again. And then, she became the statistic. She spent 4 months in the hospital. 3 major surgeries. Her pelvis had to be stabilized so she wouldn't bleed to death. Her hip replaced with metal. Her knee so destroyed that, even after surgery, it'll never bend right again. She's 71 years old. She survived breast cancer. She survived losing her husband James to a heart attack in 2019. She survived raising kids and building a life. And some drunk kid in a $165,000 Mercedes, a birthday gift from Daddy, nearly ended all of it because he couldn't be bothered to call an Uber. Medical bills? $347,000. Medicare covers part of it. Dorothy's responsible for $158,000 out of pocket. She's living on Social Security. She had to sell her dead husband's car, the Honda James maintained lovingly for years, just to make a dent in those bills. She's borrowing money from her children. She's on a payment plan with the hospital. All because Brandon Whitfield decided he was too important to face consequences. Comment justice if you think Dorothy deserved better. But money doesn't just protect you during the crime. It protects you after. Dorothy starts getting anonymous phone calls. Drop the charges. This is bad for everyone. You're making things difficult. Her grandson Daniel works at a law firm in Providence. Suddenly, his employer gets calls questioning his judgment and reliability. Coincidence? Right after Dorothy refuses to drop charges. Maria Santos, the hero who saved Dorothy's life, gets visited at home by two men calling themselves investigators. They suggest maybe she was mistaken about what she saw. They remind her she has two young children. Let that one sit. Then the senator's chief of staff calls the DA's office, suggests a community resolution would be better than a trial. Translation: make this disappear. And then comes the big move. August 25th. The Whitfield family lawyers offered Dorothy $500,000 to drop all charges, $500,000, to a woman drowning in medical debt who sold her husband's car for $12,000. You know what Dorothy said? No, I don't want his money. I want him to face what he did. She said money won't teach him anything. Consequences will. November 20th, 2024, 9:30 in the morning, Providence courtroom. Brandon Whitfield walks in wearing a Tom Ford suit and a Rolex. He looks annoyed, inconvenienced, like this whole thing is beneath him. Why wouldn't he feel that way? 2021, DUI charge, dismissed. 2022, assault after a bar fight, settled privately. 2023, reckless driving, reduced to a parking ticket. Brandon's entire life has been a masterclass in avoiding consequences. Daddy always fixed it. The prosecutor presents everything: traffic camera footage, Maria's eyewitness testimony, the cell phone records showing Brandon called his father before 911, the records showing the senator called the police chief at 12:30 a.m., Dorothy's medical records, every broken bone, every surgery, every moment of pain documented. Throughout all of this, Brandon checks his phone. During Dorothy's medical testimony, when they're describing her shattered pelvis, he whispers to his attorney and laughs. When Maria Santos describes seeing Brandon's car drag Dorothy 15 feet, Brandon rolls his eyes. Then the judge asks if Brandon has anything to say. He looks irritated, actually irritated, and he says, "Your Honor, this has been blown completely out of proportion. Blown out of proportion." Then he drops the line that changes everything. "Do you know who my father is? He's a United States Senator. This case should never have made it to trial. It should have been handled privately." Handled privately. Like hitting a grandmother is a PR problem. Like Dorothy's broken body is something you negotiate away. The courtroom goes silent. Then it's Dorothy's turn. She wheels herself forward in that chair she'll need for the rest of her life. Her voice is steady, clear, strong. She talks about her 45 years as a trauma nurse, about seeing drunk driving victims die, about holding their hands, about telling their families. And then she became one. She says, "He left me bleeding in the street like I was garbage, like 71 years of life, 45 years of service, a husband I loved and buried, children I raised, grandchildren I adore, like none of that mattered because I was in his way." She tells the court about the settlement offer, $500,000 to go away, and she says, "I'm not here for money. I'm not here for revenge. I'm here because if money and power can buy your way out of leaving someone to die in the street, then we don't have a justice system. We have a system where some lives matter, and some lives don't." Brandon sits there stone-faced. No remorse, just irritation. Behind him, his father, Senator Whitfield, sits with his arms crossed, jaw clenched, staring at the judge like this is all unreasonable. That's when the judge has had enough. The judge looks past Brandon to his father. "Senator Whitfield, you've served Rhode Island for 18 years. You've passed laws about personal responsibility. You've voted for mandatory minimums. You've made speeches about law and order. But when your son got drunk, got behind the wheel of a $165,000 Mercedes, ran a red light, hit a 71-year-old grandmother, and left her to die, you tried to make it disappear. You called the police chief at 12:30 in the morning. Your lawyers offered money to silence the victim. You used your power to put your son above the law. That's not public service, Senator. That's corruption. The senator actually stands up, like he's about to give a Senate floor speech. Your Honor, this is excessive. My son has never been convicted. The judge holds up one hand. Senator Whitfield, sit down. Dead silence. Every eye in that courtroom is on this powerful senator, red-faced, not used to being told what to do. If you interrupt my courtroom again, I'll have you removed. Sit down. He sits, doesn't say another word. The judge looks at Brandon, lists every charge, every lie, every moment of arrogance, then drops the sentence. 18 months in state prison. No work release, no early release, no special accommodations. $400,000 in restitution to Dorothy Chen. License suspended for 5 years. 500 hours of community service at Rhode Island Hospital's Trauma Center. So you can see firsthand what drunk driving does. And you will write a formal public apology to Dorothy Chen to be published in the Providence Journal. So everyone in Rhode Island knows what you did and what you faced. When the bailiff approaches with handcuffs, everything changes. The arrogance vanishes. Brandon looks at his father, this powerful senator who always fixed everything, and his voice breaks. Dad, do something. You can't let this happen. For the first time, Senator Whitfield looks helpless. Brandon starts crying. Actual tears. Voice shaking. I can't go to prison, I can't. I have my whole life ahead of me. I'm supposed to graduate in May. I have plans, I have a future. The judge says, Mr. Whitfield, Dorothy Chen had plans too. She planned to walk home from church that night. She planned to see her grandchildren that weekend. She planned to live out her retirement without chronic pain, without a wheelchair, without $347,000 in medical debt. You took all of that away from her. You have 18 months to think about that. Bailiff, take him into custody. The handcuffs click shut. But then something happens that nobody expected. Dorothy wheels herself forward. This tiny 71-year-old woman in a wheelchair, legs still in a brace, visible scars, from being dragged across pavement. She approaches the crying 22-year-old who nearly killed her. Brandon, look at me. He looks at her through his tears. All the arrogance is gone. She says, I don't hate you. I need you to understand that. I spent 45 years as a nurse. I have seen what hate does to people. It destroys them from the inside. I'm not here for revenge. Revenge doesn't heal broken bones. It doesn't pay medical bills. It doesn't undo what happened on August 16th. I'm here because the law matters. 18 months is a long time. Use it. Don't waste it feeling sorry for yourself. Spend it becoming someone your father can actually be proud of. Not because of his name, not because of his power, but because of your character. I hope you learn. I really, truly do. Because I don't want there to be another Dorothy Chen. So learn it. Become better. Prove that these 18 months meant something. Brandon can't speak. He just nods, throat too tight, crying too hard. As they lead him away, he looks back at Dorothy one more time. Not with arrogance, not with irritation, with something that might be the beginning of understanding. The courtroom is silent except for people crying. Dorothy's grace is more powerful than any anger could have been. Brandon served 14 months, completed his alcohol treatment, completed his 500 hours at the trauma center. According to people who worked with him there, something changed. He showed up. He listened. He saw what those injuries really look like. Maybe Dorothy's words got through. Senator Whitfield ran for re-election in 2026. This case, his cover-up attempts, his calls to the police chief, his efforts to silence Dorothy, became the central issue. Voters remembered. Voters who trusted him, who believed his speeches about law and order, felt betrayed. He lost by 8 points. He's not a senator anymore. He's a lobbyist in D.C. now. But his name doesn't carry the same weight. Dorothy's medical bills were paid with the restitution money. All of it, plus more. She still lives on Hope Street. Still uses a wheelchair most days. A walker on good days. Still has chronic pain and headaches. But she volunteers at Rhode Island Hospital 3 days a week, in the same trauma unit where she worked for 45 years. She reads to patients. She holds their hands. She tells them they're going to be okay. She does what she's always done. She takes care of people. 6 months after Brandon got out, Dorothy received a letter. From him. She almost didn't open it, but she did. In that letter, Brandon didn't make excuses, didn't blame alcohol or stress or his upbringing. He took responsibility. He apologized. Not with empty words, but with specifics. He acknowledged what he'd done, what he'd taken from her, how his arrogance nearly cost her life. He told her about prison, about working in the trauma center, about seeing what drunk driving really does. He told her she'd been right. He needed to become someone his father could actually be proud of, Dorothy wrote back. 2 sentences. I believe that people can change. Prove you've changed. Actions, not words. I don't know if Brandon Whitfield will prove it. I don't know if he learned the lesson Dorothy tried to teach him. But I know this. On November 20th, 2024, justice showed up. A powerful senator's son learned he's not above the law. A 71-year-old grandmother got the justice she deserved. And everyone watching learned that sometimes, just sometimes, the system works the way it's supposed to. Money doesn't buy justice. Power doesn't trump the law. And a nurse's life matters just as much as a senator's son's life. Dorothy Chen refused $500,000 and demanded accountability instead. She showed more grace in 2 minutes than most people show in a lifetime. She reminded us what real strength looks like, not arrogance, not power, not wealth, dignity, truth, courage. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that justice still matters, share it. Because people need to see that sometimes the right thing still wins. And if you're someone who's lost faith in the system, who thinks the rich and powerful always get away with it, I hope Dorothy's story shows you differently. Sometimes, the grandmother in the wheelchair beats the senator's son. Sometimes, grace is more powerful than money. And sometimes, justice actually shows up. Comment below what this story meant to you. I read every single one.